some point today, I might get this video filmed. Just waiting for the postman to drive away so I don't get the banging of doors in the back of my video. Bye, Mr. Postie. He didn't bring any pretties for me today, so yeah. Right, what was I doing? So I think the last bit of footage you would have just seen will be me cutting out my jacket, my Sylvia Seaside jacket. I wanted to get it cut out. It's out of order, but so I wanted to get it cut out because I had half an hour, 40 minutes before kind of break time, so also lunchtime. So I thought, well, rather than rearranging and trying to record this and get stuff set up, I just wanted to get it cut out and done, and then I can crack on with it this afternoon. So yes, I am about to start making my Sylvia Seaside jacket. So Sylvia Seaside jacket is one of the jackets that I offer as part of my classic collection, which is available to purchase in my Etsy shop. It is based on an original fashion plate which I found in this book, Victorian Fashions, A Pictorial Archive. Yeah, so this book features lots of lovely images that have been lifted from Victorian fashion plates from about 1860 through to 1903. So it's a really useful resource book, and I'll show you, I'll pop a clip in here of the actual design that inspires this jacket. So obviously I call it the Seaside jacket because it has a delightful little sailor collar as one of its defining features, and it has the really lovely row of purely decorative buttons which decorate the front of the bodice. It is made from linen, and the idea is that it can be worn with any of my Edwardian skirts, which are also available to purchase in the Etsy shop. So you can create a mix and match kind of Edwardiana inspired wardrobe. So as part of my Edwardian summer lookbook, you'll know that one of the kind of ideas that I had was that I wanted to go and have a day at the beach. I know it's a cliche, but a day at the British seaside, because what could be more Edwardian than that? And that is my plan in the next few days. Is I'm going to head over to the seaside and get some photos and video footage of my outfits being worn out in the wild. Now you'll know that I have already made the skirt, so it's the beige Sylvia ankle length skirt. So this jacket is also going to be in the beige linen, and it'll be trimmed in the same ivory ribbon as well. And it will have ivory silk buttons to decorate it. So yeah, nice and neutral, nothing too ostentatious over the top. It's going to be teamed with the blue stripy blouse, which you'll have just seen me making as well, a blue bone corseted belt, and I think I've got a dark blue parasol as well, just to make it pop a little bit. I am slightly concerned that the beige colour may look a bit lost on the beach, especially here in the UK. Yeah, we shall see. But if not, I'm potentially going to be able to do some photography against the colourful stripy beach huts, which will be quite fun, and then the lighter colour outfit will really pop against that. But I didn't want to do an outfit that was too strongly coloured. A lot of my inspiration pictures, which are in my board on Pinterest, are all kind of soft and muted, and I want to really kind of encapsulate that kind of whimsical nostalgia of the Edwardian seaside. So kind of light colours, light clothing, nothing too heavy and dark. I want this to be a nice sunny, summery photo shoot and video. So yes, the pattern is all cut out and I'm about to crack on with that. You may have noticed in the video that I may have cut out, where you might be thinking, well, that's not the pattern, you've not cut out the pattern, why have you done that? And that is purely because I use, when you order in my store, I have a range of base patterns that I use, and when you send me your measurements, I compare your measurements to the measurements of my pattern, and then I generally adjust my patterns to suit. So things like widening the shoulders and the back width, the chest width, adjusting your length, and the same goes for the sleeves as well. So on my pattern, these sleeves are about 13 inches around the upper arm, around the bicep, and my arms currently measure 12.5 inches, so I needed to give myself a little bit more room around the bicep. My arms are a little bit longer than the pattern, so I've just added a little bit extra on there as well. Now, one of the beauties of this pattern is that the sleeves get pleated into the arm side, which means I've got a little bit of wiggle room with the size of the sleeve head. Then if I can ease in a little bit more or less depending into the pleats, depending on on what your arm size is. So yeah, so that is the reason why I've done that, if you're all wondering why I was cutting not snug to the pattern. Right, onwards with getting this jacket made. It is the bodice is really quite simple. So there is the single front panel with the curve of the bolero edge on it, and then the back is 4 panels with princess seamed into the arm side. So yeah, nice and simple and straightforward, no darts to worry about, mark or anything like that. So yeah, I shall get those together and then get the sleeves done, and then I have the sailor collar to make up as well. So that was pretty quick. The bodice panels and the outer and the lining are both together now, and so I've just quickly popped it on the mannequin so that you can obviously see the shape coming together, and so I can see that I'm happy with the fit of things. And I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. I knew it wouldn't be far off, and obviously with it being a bolero, it's not a highly fitted jacket, but obviously you want it to be, you don't want it to be too baggy and too loose and flappy. So yeah, so that's looking quite nice. I'll just spin it around and show you the back. Possibly tweaking the back just a smidge maybe, but really it's not too bad, by the time it's turned up and it's got the lining and that on it. I don't know, I think that might be okay. Again, I'll say you don't want it too tight, you want to be able to have a little bit of movement, because obviously when you move your arms kind of forward in this, it's got to pull forward and have a bit of room to wiggle against the curve of the back. So yeah, so I'm very happy with that, I think. So I'm going to give it a press and carry on from there. I just want to do a quick try on now that the sleeves are in, and you can see it's coming together quite nicely. Sleeves are in the lining as well, and that's what I was talking about with just the little pleats in the top there, just to help shape it into the arm. It's just so quick and easy to fit those. So yeah, and cuffs are turned up, and a first piece of trimming is on because I've had a slight issue with a minor setback with the trimming. Oh, I'm losing the light. Sorry, I am filming against the window and it's quite bright out. But yeah, so my intention was to trim this in ivory, and I swear I had enough reels of the velvet ribbon for the skirt, and there was enough left. There should have been a reel left to trim the jacket, and if I can find that reel, I have I don't know where it is. It's not on my, I've got a whole rack with all my ribbon reels on. I have a feeling I put it somewhere safe to make sure I didn't use it for something else, and I don't know where that is. So, and I've checked on my site, my usual saving grace of Amazon Prime. They stock the Ferris's Velvet Ribbons, and I can't get it on Prime for tomorrow or Friday, and then it's the photo shoot. So I've had to emergency go through my stash and pick a different colour, which means I'm going to have to retrim the skirt, which is really annoying because I really don't have time to do that in the next 2 days, but I'm going to have to try and make time for it in the evenings, because I can't progress on the jacket until it's trimmed, because obviously the trim is fixed in, and obviously on the collar as well it's got to be stitched in. So yeah, that's slightly annoying, so not ideal, but I'm making progress, and it is what it is, so I'm sure it'll turn out alright in the end. These things are always sent to try us, but yeah, that's the joys of making for photo shoots. The next task is to put the interfacing in the lining, and this is to go around the front lower edge. So this point here is the side seam. This angle here is the point where the collar joins, the shoulder seam is up here. So it's this curved front edge. And this is where, on the front of the jacket, you're going to have the button holes. I say that they won't actually be holes, they're just going to be the button stitching, the buttonhole stitching. And then the buttons will be mounted on there as well. So it's purely decorative, but just to make sure it's got a little bit of reinforcement, a little bit of structure behind it, I just like to add a piece of interfacing onto the inside of the jacket, on the lining, and then I will continue it around the hem at the back of the jacket as well, so just to give it a little bit more structure and a bit of stability when it's being worn. So rolled out here is my self-adhesive iron-on interfacing. So I just like to get my pencil, and what I do is I lay the jacket out, this is the lining here, lay it out nice and flat, trace around the edge. Don't want the interfacing to go over where the seam, the stitching line will be, so I'm just tracing in roughly 1.5 centimetres, and then I want to mark in about 2 inches, so it's just wide enough that obviously you'd have your buttonholes would sit round there. Then just need to do the back panels. So this is the side seam, this here is the centre back seam, obviously there's the side back princess line curve seam there, which I'm not going to worry about too much. I just create that as one piece from the side to the centre back. Just do the same again, draw in where the seams are, take off the seam allowance on the hem, just 2 inches. And then I just cut these out, and then I will flip them over and cut the opposites out. So because this is self-adhesive interfacing, and we want the sticky stuff, well, the sticky stuff is only on one side, so we need to cut them out as opposite pairs. So there we have the interfacing is now ironed and stuck into the lining, and you can see that I've also just run a stitching line just around the edge of the where the interfacing sits, because I just think it gives it a nicer finish. Obviously it's ever so slightly might show against the fabric underneath, so it just makes it a nice finish, just to stitch that around there, and it also just helps anchor that in place if for any reason it does come unstuck. This iron-on interfacing is wonderful, but you know, sometimes it does peel away and come unstuck from things, so yeah, so I like to just stitch it in place so it is nice and secure. So I'm just going to mark on here where I want the ribbon to sit. So we've got 1.5 centimetre seam allowance around all the free edges and around obviously the neckline as well, and then I'm going to put another 1.5 in for where I want the ribbon to sit. So 3 centimetres from the edge, just lightly mark it with chalk. And then the same down here. Just attaching the lining or the underside of the collar onto the other piece of the collar, and you might notice that I'm just pinning. Actually, I've done the wrong way around. So again, so I'm actually pinning. So I'm attaching the underside of the collar to the upper layer of the collar, which has the trim on it, and I'm just pinning the outer layer just in ever so slightly from the edge, and that just means when I turn it through, once it's stitched together, it will just help the collar, the top layer, to roll over the under layer a little bit, and just help it sit a bit more flatter and a bit more smoother once it's in place. So I'm just having a bit of a rummage in my silk remnants drawer down here, see if I can find some silk to cover the buttons to go on my jacket. Ooh, that might work. Maybe. Here are some options. What do we think? Now the velvet trim on the jacket, it's called silver, but it's a very bluey green kind of silvery grey, rather than a true grey. So I'm thinking, see, that's a silvery grey, and you see that just looks completely wrong. So I think that's a no. Goodbye. So we have got this beige with kind of a teal running through it, which isn't bad, but the teal's not quite the right colour, really. We've then got this is probably my favourite. It's a bit darker and it's a bit more blue, but then in some lights actually I don't think it's bad. Yeah, or the other alternative was this patterned one, which would make some fun covered buttons, but I think again it's the wrong shade of blue, and I don't really want to add more pattern into it because we've got the pattern with the blouse and things going on. So I think it's going to be the silvery blue grey. So that's. So now I just need to decide what thread colour I'm going to use for the buttonholes, mark the buttonholes around here and get those stitched in, and then hopefully I can do the buttons on the blouse as well and get that done. But yes, it's coming along. Oh, actually I may have forgotten to actually show you. I may have forgotten to film the clip where I actually showed you. I put the collar on and I've attached the lining and turned it all through. So essentially the jacket is ready. I've just got to stitch up the lining into the cuffs and the turn through hole in the hem at the centre back. That just needs to be hand stitched, whip stitched on. So yeah, so the jacket is essentially, it's completed in terms of construction. It's just the decorative elements now, the buttonholes and things to go on. I have quickly put together a buttonhole sampler because I don't have a thread that exactly matches either the velvet trim or the silk for the buttons. So it's a question of, do I go for the one that's the closest toning, or do I just go for the beige? I think it's, those two are out, I think. They're the wrong shades of blue. That one is a possible. I normally like to do the contrast stitch because it just makes a bit more of a feature of the design detail. Because it's one of those decisions. Once I've stitched buttonholes on, buttonholes are staying. I can't change them. Buttons here to match the angle of the collar, so just gonna draw that in. So this pile of ribbon represents 3 hours of my life that I spent yesterday unpicking this from my skirt. Yeah, I'm probably not getting back. That's probably not worth my time to do that, but I didn't really have any other option when I didn't have any of the ribbon available. I still can't find. I've got a feeling I've used it on a customer order without thinking about it, and yeah, and then I obviously didn't reorder anymore. Oops. So yeah, so I now have to replace the ribbon with the silver grey. So that's my job for this evening. Finish sewing the buttons on the jacket and just stitch the lining up in the sleeves and in the hem. And yeah, and then give everything a good press, ready to pack for our trip to the seaside tomorrow. We are also having one of these little mini British heat waves where for like 2 days it's absolutely scorching hot. It's currently 8 o'clock in the evening and it is still 30 degrees outside. So yeah, I am melting. And by the way, the weather forecast for tomorrow and for the weekend is 10 degrees cooler, because of course, why wouldn't it? It's just sod's law. When I plan a photo shoot and this happened the last time I planned a beach photo shoot as well. It was, obviously that was February and it was stormy, and yeah, that was just crazy. Kind of hoped there might be slightly nicer weather for, you know, a summer weekend in June, but hey ho, this is the British seaside for you, so we shall go and make the best of it that we can. But yeah. Anyway, I've got sewing to finish and then packing to do, so onwards.